Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Chosen Family.
It's an honor.
I'm really happy to see you.
Both look amazing.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment to appreciate the ensemble.
We Googled the background and decided we wanted to match. You know, the hat, the thing.
Well, talking about it, the song is taking a little break because we took it downstairs 2 weeks ago. We had a live show and it got a bit tired, so it's taking a little break. Congratulations on the record.
Thank you.
Do we like musicians? Like, what do we say? Record, album, project, mixed? Like, I don't even know anymore.
There's electronic files. Congratulations on the batch of new files.
All the files. You know.
Or congratulations on surviving 10 years. That's what.
Right.
And that is amazing.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
Seriously. It's called Distractions.
Yes.
I love that title.
Yes. Thank you.
What do you feel? So we were talking about money. Money can be a distraction. Yeah. We talked about a lot of different distractions off the top. What do you feel for you is sort of the biggest distraction in your life that can sort of, ruin your focus when you're working on a creative project? What are those distractions for you in your life?
Be honest.
Yes, be honest.
You know what? For me,
just
distractions.
This is no judgment, by the way.
You were talking about being happy and being free and living the moment. I find like it's really hard to be focused on being happy and living the moment with being distracted by the type of society that you live in. And sometimes for me, what I find distracting is the certain side that what media kind of wants you to listen to, what they want you to believe, what they want you to research, what they give you access to on Google, what they give you access to here. It's like this big like fake cloud of information, and there's not one thing in my opinion that's like distracting, but it's the whole kind of bubble that we live in. And it's like just when you kind of detach yourself and either meditate in your bedroom or you're on vacation somewhere in Miami or whatever, it's like you have like a glimpse of like 5 seconds of being like, and then like boom, you're distracted again with like
out of the haze.
The phone, the okay, you still have to buy a plane ticket to get away, right? There's this certain attachments. For me, those are the biggest like distractions into my thing of just wanting to be happy, peaceful, and
I've seen like my time disappear in the last like 4 or 5 years. There's just less and less time to do the things that you care for and that you want to put your focus, your energy into. And I was like, what the fuck happened? You know, like. And you were talking about
also
money, but
if you're in two bands, that's usually what happens.
And other projects and other this and that. But like at one point, like it was either I had 2 bands or I was working in a bar and doing random recipe, and I was sick of that because of alcohol too. I was like binge. I was like drinking every night, but that was like killing my the days after. And I just like I need to live off music or just go back to university and do another job.
So talking about living off the work, you've decided to go DIY for this project.
Yes.
You've raised funds through friends and family. You did it your way.
It was a leap of faith.
Yeah. Why? And what did that require to go this way?
I was like, Franny, you take care of that.
Okay. Well, let's face it. The music industry is really fucked. It's like it's still like this kind of, how do you say, a mirage, an illusion,
an illusion
that it's going well, and there's just always new ways.
Well,
of
do you feel you
seeing
need
it.
to like support that illusion when you in media, in interviews, in shows, like to sort of pretend that like, oh, things are going fine, but they're not.
But like, and when I say the music industry, I'm not talking about artists and the way we listen to music or where the money goes. It's really the industry aspect of it, labels, and like all that thing that is more and more useless.
Right.
You know, you're just directly connected to your fans today. You don't. Especially for a band that's been together for 10 years, we don't really need the kind of like stamp of approval that a label can bring you into like introducing you to the world.
Right.
You know, so now we were like, well, why should we stay with the label? They're really nice, the people that work there, but realistically speaking, we sold like 10,000 albums and we never saw a dime.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, well,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that infuriating for you?
We paid for the first album. We paid for it. We just like gave it to a label to like sell it, and we never saw a dime. And we're like, and they're not like stealing us or anything. It's just the way the industry is.
If you have
mechanism.
you have more costs because they invest in marketing and promo and like.
endless. And now
Right.
like we just got our first check from like I don't know where, like Bandcamp, and it's like $70. And we're like, woo! It's like we ever made money with music.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's like
true.
exciting to actually see it like
Because from the outside, we think that musicians today make money from the touring. So a model for a band would be you release the music because you really want to go on tour, and you guys tour. You're going to go to Italy, and then it's like this is kind of how you. But is it still the case?
Yeah.
Is it?
Like you make money with every little aspect
Right,
of it. It's
okay.
like everything together that makes the band survive and like the individual within the band survive also. But the minute there's money into the project, we want to put it back into another thing that we want
Right.
to do, either like a huge show or like touring costs also, you know, like
Yeah.
Italy, they don't give you the biggest pays to go play.
They kind of drag you in because they have excellent food and great
Yeah.
reviews. But then, like, the
who's
minute
gonna,
you're,
who's gonna
like,
say no to a tour in
you know,
Italy,
exactly.
right?
But then when
Exactly.
you know where you're like sleeping after the show, you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
Do you
in
have a
garage.
rider?
We do.
But it's
on
What
the
are,
road?
what's your most
respected.
outrageous demand when you're on the road?
We have,
We
Is
had
there
stupid
anything?
things at one point, but it was just sad because it was not respected, so we took it off. But I
what
don't.
was we weren't that crazy. Like we didn't
Because
go
we
with like,
really feel bad for the people whose jobs
Yeah.
are finding these
Right,
things.
right.
You know, because you can see something like, oh, I have to find all the red M&Ms. Of like, and it's kind of like that sucks. Or like toilet paper
Yeah.
with like 3 layers. Like we saw other bands
We've seen-
asking
yeah,
for these
right.
things,
yeah.
and we're like, you're just mean. We're in the middle of Bonaventure, like
Right.
like they don't have that here. They don't
Yeah.
have this type of beer. You know, like
yeah. It's true.
But what
It's
is
true.
like what is your essential item or thing for surviving life on the road? Like is there something that you can't live without that you need to have?
I don't need
I
anything,
need
but
water and veggies and fruit.
That's the
Okay,
thing.
we
we
don't
don't
need
need
that
lame.
much. No, we
I'm
really
lame,
don't.
but
We
like-
really don't need that much. That's
I
what
would
we're
say like a
realizing.
bed, not even like I've slept on the floor. Like
It's like that I can't do.
But our standards are
I don't think you could
not-
tour with us in
No, I
Italy. I was like,
can't.
oh,
It's
princess.
too-
I had an anxiety attack on one of our very first tours where
Yeah.
we slept in the guy. He
Let's
was
not
so
name the
happy.
city.
He was so happy and he was so welcoming and it was so cool. And I was like, wow, this is like paradise on earth till he brought us to where we were staying. And it was like I had I knew for the
was
first time what a
hoarder.
panic attack was.
Why?
And
Because it was
he
like
was a
disgusting.
hoarder.
Oh.
And it was like yogurt like in the bathtub.
Oh my God, and, like, dead
and there
cats.
was like
Almost. And we were
Many
sleeping
cats.
in the woods, and I was
In
afraid to go pee at night because there was wolves. You can hear
Oh
that.
my God.
And it was
So I
special.
found the nearest hotel or motel, and I was just like, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
like, I have to go there. Like, have
She
My
left.
biggest fear, like when I get booked for like a comedy show on the road, it's like, am I gonna have to share a hotel room with a comedian? I'm like, I'm gonna need my own room. That's always my like biggest fear.
So you've been creating music for over 10 years because you started the project in 2007. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
And you met the story of how you met is so Montreal.
yeah,
You
totally.
you met at the Tam Tams.
No, it's
No?
not true. It was
Oh,
a
I
joke
thought it was-
earlier. No.
How did you meet?
On the street at the Cabaret Juste pour Rire.
Yeah.
It was like the best music venue that there's nothing there now.
No. Well, they're
empty
making a
space.
circus space, but yeah.
It was the
Montreal.
Exclaim tour, and it was the organ playing. I remember in Montag.
The organ.
In Montag.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Very
we went
cool.
to. I went to see the show, and I ran into her, and she had a crazy haircut. It was before it was permed.
It was more
I just sold you out. But and she had a crazy haircut, and I noticed her, and then the next day, and you were kind of tipsy because your eyes were closed.
It was my first beer I ever had or something.
Yeah. And first time out of Laval.
Yeah, fab.
And then I saw her on MySpace, like 2 days later,
No.
like common friends. We're
Franny's
like,
an excellent stalker.
I'm an amazing stalker.
Excellent
Like,
stalker.
I ran into her on MySpace.
Right.
And then I just
I
set her up.
feel, I don't know, like, because you have like a partnership and we have a partnership, and I'm like, am I Fab or am I Franny in this? Like,
I think you're
I
like,
think you're Franny.
yes, yes.
yeah.
Everything
so
she
did
was
you
saying,
message-
She was like, right on, baby. Like, right on.
Yeah. Because
you-
he stalked me too.
I
Like,
did.
yeah.
That's how we started working
Are you
together.
serious?
Yeah,
There we
yeah,
go.
yeah,
There
yeah.
we go.
So you stalked her on Facebook. Did you
Yeah.
message her on Facebook?
On
MySpace.
MySpace.
On MySpace. Sorry,
Yeah.
MySpace. Yeah.
Yeah.
We became friends and we spoke. We were talking about music a lot,
Yeah.
and then we just went for a beer like 6 months later. We
Yeah.
were talking on the phone
Whoa, these
for
were the old
hours
days.
before we met each other.
Yeah.
Who
Oh,
does that?
yeah.
It's kind
I
of creepy
miss
today.
that.
Yeah.
I
Very
love
cool.
every now and then.
Yeah.
I love a good like 2-hour phone conversation.
Totally.
I love it.
Yeah.
With someone
For
you
sure.
never met? That's weird.
It can be weird at first, but
I wouldn't do that today.
No, I wouldn't do that today either.
We were
But
just like, hi.
Hey, what's up?
They were
But we had so much to say, we'd forget about it. Like for you know, I
that's
don't
so
know.
cool.
There's this one time we were like, I would love to travel for life. Like, what jobs could we do? Like, what could make us travel? And then we had all these ideas. And at what point we said, like, music. We could just tour. We could be a band. She's like, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
But we're
I
so
played tam tam and she played guitar.
Nothing. I 4-string guitar because like I was missing 2 strings on my guitar and I didn't know how to put them back
Right.
on. So,
But so
that's
were
how the
you
band
creating
started.
music before
No,
2007?
no, we were in university. Like,
Well, we
studying other
were
shit.
jamming.
Okay.
I mean, we would go like in the
With
break
who?
room at Urban Outfitters. We used
Oh,
to
together.
jam.
Yeah, we worked together there a few
Yeah,
years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
We used to,
But so it wasn't your childhood dream to be in a band and tour the
Yes.
world? Okay,
Yes.
for you, yes.
It was secretly. My high school agenda was full of raps. It was like my friends, my girlfriends all had like pictures of like their favorite Italian soccer player and that kind of stuff. And mine was just full of raps
Of your
and rhymes
own
and
or, like,
raps
from
and-
other people?
No, mine. Like I would
Okay.
just make things rhyme and just go at it and flip a page and I would like put in like a Rough Riders CD or like or a DMX or like a Maxi Priest reggae album, and I was just like I would close my eyes. I grew up so much with the American thing and you know watching the Grammys was a big thing at home, and it was just like Entertainment Tonight with Mary Hart and all this shit. And I was like I can see, I think I can live okay with that. I don't think I would be annoyed to live this like stardom thing, but I think I
Right.
would be like that cool star that like doesn't have bad things said about them, you know? Because
But so-
like the Pharrell, like nowadays I look at these new artists and there's some that have all this blah blah stuff, and then there's some that just get away with like
Being under
they
the
have
radar.
their thing, but
Yeah.
like they're always just good and they do the right thing at the right time and they just you know.
Right.
And that was like kind of I was like there's a way to do it without being like that person that's like bashed on all the time. Or
Right,
whatever.
yeah, for sure. But so there was this dream, or at least the idea of
The
like
cutest
being a rock
thing.
star, but you didn't take it seriously? You didn't like fully believe that you could
I
do
never
it?
took a music class in my entire life. I didn't know. My parents were like, "You're gonna go to school and you're gonna be like a freaking
Are you from a,
accountant,
more
and you're
conservative background?
Yeah,
Italian.
Italian from Laval, which
conservative
is
Laval, yeah.
that would be like Jersey.
But the cutest
But they
thing.
were less conservative than my other Italian
Can I
friends.
talk about your cassette that I found
Yes.
recently?
Yes, tell
yes,
us.
yes.
So I borrowed my friend's how do you say it? Like a
Boombox?
Like
boombox?
Yeah.
Because I needed it for something, and she used to live with her. They were roommates when they were like 18. So I took the thing, and in it there was a MC Mario
Oh yes,
mixtape that she did, and she beatboxes over it when she's 16
that is the
years
cutest
old.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's
That's
like worth. We
amazing.
could totally sell that
Yeah.
on YouTube for like.
But you
on
still have
eBay.
it, right? The
That-
tape? You didn't
No, I
have it?
recorded it. No, I'm kidding. Yes, I have it. Like, no, I
But so,
have it.
Franny, what was your dream? Like
I wanted to
growing
be a
up, like
high
what
school
was,
teacher.
That was what you wanted,
Yeah, it's another type of audience.
for sure.
Inspiring people
always thought
in another way.
The best teachers are entertainers.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm still really good friends with some of my elementary
Me
school,
too.
high school teachers,
Yeah.
CEGEP, university. Like, yeah, I really admire them. They give the spark, and
Yeah.
to me, there's like music is super inspiring and important in a society because it's like the lungs of a society. Art is, but like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
education to me is like the basics.
Yes.
So like I always saw like it as the most important job out there, and that's my goal was that. But then I just kind of got into music, and I never got
starting
out.
a first band and a second band. But did you sing?
I
growing
was in
up?
a choir. I went to.
Yeah,
I
'cause
went
you're
to
a phenomenal
classical-
singer.
Thank you. But I wasn't 10 years ago. Like it's things that you practice. But I did classical music growing up. And I never saw music as a way of expressing yourself.
Right.
It's more like being a rigorous
Structure
or like
and
like
discipline. Yeah.
yeah, it's discipline, and I was like bored with that because I'm lazy, and I just want to have fun. So I was like, nah, it's not for me, and I got into music 5 years later when I met Fab.
And the idea of Random Recipe was to mix all the genres. It was a sort of
Exactly.
like no boundary from rock and hip hop to folk to like pop to everything together.
It's funny because MySpace had this thing where you could put a song on your page,
Right.
on your
Yes.
introduction
Yes.
page, and you would change it like according to your mood
Right.
or every week or whatever.
True.
And so it was so cool that we would talk to each other and, oh, have you heard this? Have you heard that? And I knew a bit more hip hop music, but then I really had this, I don't know why, this acid jazz.
Yeah, why were you at
like,
the organ show?
Because I had this huge indie rock. No, because I had this huge indie. I was really into indie rock and the Stills, all the Montreal kind of vibe and Canadian stuff. I was like really into that. So yes, to answer your question, I did have that. But yeah, we grew up in the 90s, man. On the radio in the 90s, there was
you don't
everything.
Need to tell us.
You guys know. We were stuck in the same traffic going to school.
We're still obsessed.
And it's
best melodies.
For us, I'm sorry, but it's the best years you could have probably grown up in to be like an open-minded person. So in Random Recipe, I think we would listen to music. We would try to imitate what we would hear. We would grab a lot of influences, and it just curated the type of band that we are. Then it kind of shot us in the foot when we had to start to figure out how to label ourselves, because we were like, what, and obviously the first label was they're two girls, they're gay. Let's put that up front, and we kind of were like, no, we don't want to talk about it. We don't associate ourselves with that. So let's try to figure out how to do it with the music.
Why did you not want to talk about that? Did you feel like it limits the audience?
Yes, sadly. You'd go to a Tegan and Sarah show and it was only lesbians in the room, and I'm like, but where are all the other people of the society? Why is it only lesbians that are intrigued into discovering this music? Because it doesn't just apply to lesbians, and I was afraid that we'd kind of lose a huge part of the audience that we knew our music could please to, and then also we just didn't want that to be a focus. She hadn't come out, I hadn't come out to everyone in my family either, and it's just it was the first question people would ask us in an interview, and I'm like, what are you asking that to a straight band? Why are you talking to me about my love life? So
do you feel that's changed? Do you feel that today people are more open-minded
Yesterday,
about that, and
I was
they don't?
I was telling my manager, I'm like, can you believe that at one point Ariane Moffat and Pierre Lapointe hadn't come out, and we started laughing that was a thing. When they came out, there
was a time where George Michael wasn't out.
But no, it for sure it's changed. But it's not all is good and accepted. I work with teenagers right now, and those struggles are still their struggles, and they're going through the same coming out process that we went through. But it was.
What do you tell them?
Everything's gonna be okay, but I give them music. Actually, I give them music to live the emotions that they're not maybe ready to live, and sometimes the music inspires them to do the moves. Weirdly, I was working with this teen on a show, and I told them I was watching them be so loud and free, in my opinion. I was watching them and I was like, wow, I look at you and I'm sad that I wasn't as free when I was in high school, and I regret. It's my biggest regret is not having been out when my emotions were so strong. Because I compensated when I got older, I binged, but living in it when your hormones are like that.
I know, that's my biggest regret too.
Your first slow dance, having to dance with a guy, when you're 12, you're
awful.
Playing the la bouteille with the guy, with the little mustaches.
I came out when I was 14, and that was a good feeling, I have to say. Being having all those emotions, what you're describing, I was like, I was lucky enough to do that. And I recommend it.
So
it's a phenomenal feeling.
I told those kids I was living my emotions through listening to Portishead. I felt like that's the only thing that can really express what I'm going through. And I gave them these albums that they didn't know, and then that 2 weeks later, one of them came out. She's like, I keep on listening to Rose of Portishead, and now I'm just like, my life is a lie, and I need to come out. And I was like, wow, the power of music.
Yes.
Totally.
For sure.
That is so amazing. So you decide to start a band, but you don't play music at that point. So how do you find the guys who were with you at the band?
Oh, they were Fab and I would just she would beatbox. I would force her okay, Fab, do a freestyle beatbox, and she's like, oh, okay.
Where?
On the sidewalk.
Outside of Blizzards and Blue Dog. That's that was our hang, man. And what was it called? The Sapphire.
Sapphire.
It was a way to flirt. I would use you to flirt with girls. I was like, okay, hot girl, just do a freestyle and beatbox. We'll act cool.
I didn't really understand. I was just like,
okay.
whatever. It works.
You're kind of naive,
I
Fab.
don't know. Yeah, I'm very naive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't lie. Yeah. I'm still even like this coming out thing. I'm like, do I really have to fit in a box? Because I'm
I
not
know.
gay and I'm
Well,
not straight.
that's the thing.
And I'm not rich. I'm not poor. And I'm color thing. I'm not like white because I've always been teased because I'm darker skinned. But then I'm a lighter skin compared to other people. Like, but I'm like, I love to ask questions.
But do you
yet,
feel
like,
that the
I
younger
have
generation,
no-
they don't feel that they need to label themselves more than I think us,
think
we did
it's
like
starting.
one step, but the
Yes.
generation after us, they're like, they
don't
do not
care
care.
Like,
about
they
those
care about how
labels.
many likes they have.
Exactly.
Which I'm
Yes, they
just
care
like,
about
fuck
numbers.
that shit.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
The metrics.
honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's
whatever.
important, right? Like, what is your relationship with the numbers? Because I feel like
None.
as DIY people, it's still, you want to reach people, right? But you don't want your whole life just to be about getting the numbers up.
There's a way
I
of
love
reach.
numerology.
What's your life path number? I'm 2.
Okay, anyways, you were
No,
saying
but
something more important.
No, but I'm just saying we've always been like quality over quantity.
Yes.
Like we have done shows where there was 5 people in the room and we were 4 on stage and we're like, okay, at least the numbers are balanced. We're like, there's more in the room than on stage until the guy came up on stage and like started jamming on his violin with us. I'm like, no, the numbers are not balanced anymore.
Yeah,
But
it was like
those were shows that we remember. Like it's who's in the room.
Right.
Yeah.
So
More
you were beatboxing on the street. 'Cause
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel
you're like,
because
wait,
I'm
wait,
like,
wait.
I'm
You want to
so
try to figure out.
people watching, they're like, okay, so these 2
Where are
girls,
these
they meet
two
on
guys?
MySpace. The girl is beatboxing on the street. How did the 2 guys join the band and sort of started?
Well, we started doing shows because people were like, ooh, these 2 girls that rap. And so we had little bookings like the queer Party of Concordia and like where the stage was a huge vulva and we were just standing next to the stage, like on the like side of it, beatboxing, like
2007.
nervously. Yeah, it was a strange time. So we had these little shows, but we weren't making a big deal out of it.
Right.
And then we got booked at Fringe Fest, and we didn't know what that was at the time. And then my girlfriend was a contemporary dancer at the time, and she was like, well, Fringe Fest is big. Like in dance, it's kind of important. And I was like, what do you mean big? Well, you're probably going to play in front of like 400, 500 people. And we're like, it's an hour show. We have 3 songs. What the fuck are we going to do?
Yeah.
So I called my best friend's older brother, who's a musician. And I explained to him the situation, and I'm like,
I kind of need help.
So he's like, I'm like, when's the show? And I said, well, in 3 days. So he said, well, either I come and laugh at you guys, or I go on stage and laugh at you guys also, but I'll be with
that's
you.
cute.
Yeah.
So we did one practice, and we thought we were so professional sounding.
He called Lukong.
His drummer friend, like best friend. And
rehearsed in a shed, in some random shed on
Yes,
Mount Royal.
it's true.
I know how the hell.
Whose house
I
was
don't
that?
know.
That's amazing.
A hippie friend.
And then we did the show, and we were like, woo! We were stars now. And then they stayed in the band forever.
Okay.
We kind of forced
So you
them,
still work
though.
with them now?
One of
Or-
them, the guy that helped us, he
Yeah.
left the band 3 years ago
Okay.
when we went to a group therapy like Metallica, and he was like, no, that's too much
Oh, you
for
went
me.
to group therapy for the
Yes.
band?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
We're
gonna
trying to
happen
be
to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
It
We're
could.
gonna film it. It needs to be a
We're
show.
gonna Shit, we should have thought
No,
of
I know, but we wanted to.
Yeah,
That's,
it's true.
he said, my son was like, the only way I'm going to go through this therapy is if we do a documentary about it.
That's so funny.
And then we didn't have the money to do a documentary
of
about it,
course.
so he quit the band.
Yeah. Okay.
But that idea, because you mentioned before, which is amazing, but that idea of like the numbers and quality versus quantity, but like as DIY people who are doing this to support themselves so you don't have to spend your days working at some shitty office job, how do you balance that, the joy of what you do and the reason why you're doing it, with trying to make it sustainable financially for yourselves?
Well, I think for fans, like, I think we're sad to say, but an old band. And so the people that are there are really fans. Like, we did an Indiegogo campaign for the album, and we raised almost $18,000. But it's like 300 people that gave.
Right.
It's like 300 real fans.
Right.
And we have 17,000 Facebook fans. And it's not all, like, if all of them gave $10, we'd
Yeah.
be, you know,
Yeah.
but... You know, it's
Yeah.
not the case. Like, numbers don't necessarily relate to how much
Yeah,
money you're going to make in the
exactly.
end. So to us, it's really keeping those few real hardcore fans that support us.
Yes.
Keeping them content, or I don't know how to say it, but like
engaged and excited.
engaged. And then, numbers add up. But when you see just a campaign to have like so many likes, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it's going to go down as quickly as it
Yeah,
as it rose.
exactly.
You
And it's
see those
empty.
bands.
Yeah.
You
It's
see those
empty.
bands just kind of crash.
And it's not just
not
in
real.
music.
No.
It's in every sort of field of entertainment where the work just exists to get the numbers up and the work sucks and it's uninspiring and it's people just doing things to get attention and that is
to
just
distract people to come back to the
exactly.
album
exactly
title. To
it
distract
is
people.
so like distractions, I mean, I think like as a title it's really the age that we're living in. We're living in the age of
10 points.
distraction.
You got it. You got it.
And
You got it.
And
That was-
you just to end on this, you've made the record with close friends. Why was that important to you?
Well, exactly.
As
There was
producers and writers, and
there was like a quest for authenticity, exactly, to be like, why should we still be here? Like 10 years later, we're filling up a space that maybe younger people, more c'est quoi pertinent? Relevant
yeah.
artists should take. Should we just like say, okay, we've had our time, like take it over? Like, and the reason why we decided to stay was like we still have stuff to say. There's very few like 30-year-old women that do that type of music that we do, like rowdy, sweaty, just like funny. Like it kind of stays when you're 22, and then we just want to see you become calmer, you know? And
well, you have your Calm project.
Exactly. And I
With
was
Dear
like,
Criminals,
people were like, oh, so now that's the evolution. And I'm like, no, I'm always going to have random. I'm always going to have that aspect of me and that side of me. So to do that, we were like, how do other women do it? How do other women artists grow up being themselves, but also having something relevant to say, but being also like, I'm sorry, but I'm talking about having kids in my head and everything.
Right.
How do I
Don't
deal
be
with
sorry.
that?
It's
How do I
okay.
struggle with that? Well, I have to be sorry with her.
I'm not judging
you're
anyone
not
that chooses to have kids. It's beautiful and it's wonderful.
We should have a drink together.
I just, you know, it's just not for me.
How are you a mother but be in Random Recipe at the same time? I'm like, what you... Anyways.
It's a whole
There's a lot of
identity
theories
struggle.
about that.
But it's a whole identity struggle on even like Random Recipes as its identity. Like for me, it kind of sucks to hear, well, yeah, the Calm project is that
Exactly.
project. I feel like with La Mélancolie also. I went through my cancer thing. I did this, that. Like, how come I can rap about it in a song that sounds like a disco song?
Right.
But I mean, there's still a lot of like heartfelt stuff, right?
Absolutely.
So when we grew from having like an album in 2010 that was called Folded Molded, and we were taken as like clowns, and oh yeah, let's invite them because they're happy in their party. But there's a side that she was struggling, like, you know, my biggest inspiration is Portishead, and I feel this deep music, but then I'm always portrayed as this thing. Why are we always in a freaking box? Why are we put like that? Why, you know?
It's the
like
most frustrating thing.
It
And it's so limiting and it's so
Absolute-
pointless.
Absolutely. And like, I mean, I don't know, you those 300 solid fans are probably the ones that understand us the most. That probably the ones that if I had to do an interview, I'd invite one of them to come and answer some of the questions, to have that outside view and be like, what do you think? Like, what was your, why have you followed
these
us?
conversations with them? After shows sometimes, or?
It's hard.
Like with time, like there's people to the Maxoto, like there's people like that just like will stop you and will tell you what the band represents for them in their lives and where it kind of change parts of their lives or how it accompanies them in everyday struggles or stuff like that.
Isn't that the best feeling in the world?
It is. You know, like when people are like, oh, well, we were listening to like Love of your first album when my baby was born, or like we got married on this one of your songs. Or it's just like, wow, you're accompanying people in their such heavy moments in their lives.
Yeah.
People are not playing jokes at their weddings. I'm telling you. It's not comedy. Does not play that role. It's a different role. It's like cathartic.
Well, there are weddings that have really bad comedian MCs.
We wanted the girls from Broad City to host our I don't know what launch one day, but like we can have like
we're available.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much. This was
so much
a riot.
fun.
This
Oh
was
my God.
a riot.
Chosen family, the real man. I love this.
The real deal.
Totally.
The
But
real deal.
check the album.
Distraction.
But especially for all the like women that are on the album with us. Like, we
And
didn't talk about them, but
do you want to? I mean, we're not on the radio. So
Okay.
if you say what you have to say.
yes, because they saved the album. You know,
Yeah,
like
what
it's
happened? What's that? Yeah, let's close with that. So you posted on Facebook, one of you, that without your team and the women on the album, there'd be no album.
No. We were lost. We were like three little working together, and you kind of get stuck in dynamics, and you don't know how to write music anymore. And then we decide to open up to other people, which is something we've never done because it's such a weird. project, Random Recipe, that we felt that if we added elements, it would become even more like messier or something. And we just decided to invite people. Marie-Hélène Delorme, Foxtrot, was the first person to collaborate on the album and just give us direction. And then all the women that kind of added, like from Rhonda Smith, who was a Prince's bass player. She came from LA to play a few tracks on the album. She's like 50 or something, and she's just like a monument of music. Yeah. And then Marie-Pierre Arthur, who wrote bass lines, all the rappers, Ladybug Mecca, which was one of her idols growing up.
That's
like,
so cool.
Just seeing all these women that have different parcours, like just doing their thing and coming together on this album was just like a breath of fresh air that we needed. And I really want to thank them every time I can.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
We'll play a song off the record at the end of the show.
Yeah.
So please, people, stay.
It's so good. You got to check this out.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.